Arcadian Vanguard presents the Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Friday, December 9th, 2022. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with news regarding the former Sasha Banks. New Japan Pro Wrestling is reportedly bringing Banks, real name Mercedes Varnado, to Wrestle Kingdom 17 next month, according to an exclusive story from PW Insider, which cites unnamed sources close to the situation. It is not known what capacity she would be appearing in, or even if she would appear in front of the live crowd at either the Tokyo Dome or the Yokohama Arena during the two-day event, New Japan's biggest of the year. Varnado last October expressed an interest in wrestling IWGP Women's Champion Kairi, who previously wrestled in WWE and NXT as Kairi Sane and now currently works for Stardom. Varnado herself has not wrestled since last May, just before she and Trinity Naomi Fatu walked out of WWE while still holding the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Fatu was spotted earlier this week at an Atlanta Hawks game with AEW performer Jade Cargill. With a look at Shawn Michaels' NXT Deadline media call yesterday, here's the Wrestling News' Lou Kipilman.
Shawn Michaels addressed the impending return of William Regal, among other topics, during a media call yesterday for this weekend's NXT Deadline Premium Live event. The Senior Vice President of Talent Development Creative addressed what Regal might mean to the NXT brand, where he had done most of his coaching and scouting work during his later years with WWE.
Right now, there's nothing official that I really had to announce. But I'll say this, as you said, we love Steve, and we have a great deal of respect for Steven Regal and what he means to NXT and the WWE, and of course, wrestling at all levels. Nothing would thrill me more. And, to give you more information, I would obviously stay tuned, because hopefully we'll all know a little bit more as we get down the road. But honestly, right now, I'm the guy that's been reading it from you guys. So that's where we're at for the time being.
Michaels also speculated on the current NXT talent most ready to be called up to the main roster in the near future.
I guess different versions of ready. I will say that you can just kind of seamlessly go right in. I'd say you got Pretty Deadly. I think they're guys that, you could probably insert right in. I think a guy like J.D. McDonough is another person that could just flow right in, would be ready to go. I think a Grayson Waller, clearly Apollo, obviously. But I think a Grayson Waller is a guy that is just unbelievably talented, does everything under the sun for us. I believe somebody like an Alba Fire could step right in, a Zoe Stark. People that have been doing it long enough that really, from a work standpoint, from a character standpoint, and even from I'll say age and maturity and time in the business that are ready to step right in.
Also during the call, Michaels confirmed that plans for NXT Europe are currently being put into place, and fans can expect to see the brand launched in 2023. He also alluded to NXT Deadline becoming an annual December premium live event going forward, and confirmed the announcement of NXT Vengeance Day, which will take place February 4th at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Vengeance Day will be NXT's first standalone premium live event held outside the state of Florida since before the pandemic. For the Wrestling News, I'm Lou Kipilman.
In ratings news, AEW Dynamite on TBS Wednesday night, live from the HEB Center in Cedar Park, Texas, drew one of its lowest total viewerships and lowest key demographic ratings of the year, according to Showbuzz Daily. The episode drew 840,000 viewers to TBS, down 3.44% from last week. That ties one other episode for Dynamite's fourth lowest audience of the year so far in its normal time slot. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was 0.29, which was up from last week's 0.26 rating, but was still the third lowest key demo rating of the year in its normal time slot, according to WrestleNomics. The show ranked number 3 on cable TV for the evening in the demo, up from number 5 last week. In Impact Wrestling news, Impact World Champion Josh Alexander made his first televised appearance since last month's Overdrive pay-per-view. Last night in the main event of Impact Wrestling on Access TV, in a match taped the night after Overdrive in Old Forester's Paris Town Hall in Louisville, Kentucky, Alexander successfully defended his title against Speedball Mike Bailey, who had answered the Champs Open Challenge earlier in the show. The finish occurred with only seconds remaining in the match's 1-hour time limit.
Trying to get Bailey up for the C4 spike, has struggled to do so throughout this matchup due to the injured left shoulder.
And now just pummeling Speedball, wants to make sure this one counts.
Trying to
30 seconds remain.
Oh, C4 spike!
Got him! But
A matter of seconds left in this matchup.
whoa,
But Alexander's not done.
no, he wants to make an exclamation point here. Prove a point. This has been an hour coming.
20 seconds remain.
20 seconds. Another C4 spike. Alexander the cover. Alexander retains.
In other pre-tape matches, Impact World Tag Team Champions Heath and Rhino wrestled the Motor City Machine Guns to a no contest. Savannah Evans beat Taya Valkyrie, and Sami Callihan was defeated by Khan, formerly known as Connor of WWE's Ascension. With some more WWE news, here's the Wrestling News' Lou Kipilman.
Matt Riddle has been pulled from some upcoming shows, including this weekend's house show schedule, according to PW Insider. The reason for Riddle's absence has not been made public, but he was most recently featured on Raw in an angle that saw him attacked by Solo Sikoa and taken out of the arena on a stretcher, potentially as a way of writing him off TV. It is not known if this was done due to real-life causes or as part of the storyline, but we will keep you informed. For the Wrestling News, I'm Lou Kipilman.
We close with the newest inductees into the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame. In the newest edition of Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter released online this morning, there were 8 new members added to the hall. This year's class consists of current New Japan stars Kota Ibushi and Tetsuya Naito, active CMLL wrestler Mystico, now wrestling as Caristico, Rollerball Mark Rocco, and 2 tag teams, Los Villanos from Mexico and Japan's Akira Taue and Toshiaki Kawada. Also added were promoters Lou Darrow and Johnny Doyle. The Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame began in 1996 and has become one of the most widely recognized pro wrestling halls in the world. The voting body consists of people chosen by Meltzer, and according to his newsletter, quote, "The Hall of Fame is voted on by people who are either in the business or those who follow it closely, whether they be reporters, historians, or business professionals. Each group is different, and the healthy mix yields different results," unquote. Performers are placed into several categories, including one for historical performers, more modern performers in Canada and the United States, Mexico, Japan, elsewhere globally, and non-wrestlers. People who garner 60% of the vote from their particular region are inducted. There is also a 15-year limit of being on the ballot unless somebody gets 50% of the vote or more. As a result, both Enrique Torres and Rocky Johnson will be removed from the ballot next year. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.